like the time that I was sleeping and I woke up because I was sleeping.
Don't mock my gift, Michael. Don't mock it.
What happens is the more money you make, the less black people you see. So what I love about like LeBron,
he
got
Mav and he got Randy and he got Rich.
Yeah.
He kept that group.
My Wife and Kids, The Untold Story. I always wanted to create a series that showed a functional black family on TV, something I never saw growing up. Damon Wayans whispers as he looks at the original script for My Wife and Kids, his hands trembling slightly. But what the audience never knew is how much we fought behind the scenes to keep this vision intact. Between 2001 and 2005, millions of viewers followed the hilarious adventures of the Kyle family. The contagious laughter, the learning moments, and Michael Kyle's iconic phrases won fans around the world. But behind the cameras, a fierce battle was being fought. A struggle for creative control, controversial cast replacements, and tensions that threatened to destroy everything they had built. While the Kyle family seemed perfect on screen, the cast and crew faced crises that almost ended the series long before its time. Unexpected dismissals, conflicts between actors, and a network increasingly impatient with its creator's artistic vision. And the truth is more shocking than you imagined. Michael Kyle, the well-intentioned but exaggerated patriarch. Janet J. and Kyle, the intelligent and patient wife. Junior, Claire, and Katie, the children who completed the portrait of a modern American family. For millions of viewers, they were simply hilarious characters who entered their living rooms every week. But for Damon Wayans and Don Rio, the creators of the series, they represented something much deeper. We wanted to create a comedy with a black family that wasn't about being black, reveals Don Rio, co-creator of the series. It was about being family, about the universal challenges of parenting, but through a lens that rarely had space on American TV. In 2000, when the idea for the series began to be developed, the television landscape offered few positive representations of black families. Wayans and Rio's vision was bold, to create a program that was funny and accessible to everyone, but that would also silently challenge racial stereotypes. ABC was nervous, confesses a former network executive who preferred not to be identified. They wanted another Cosby Show, something safe. But Damon insisted on a comedy with more edges, more personality. It was a tense negotiation from the beginning. What few know is that My Wife and Kids almost didn't make it off the paper. 3 other networks had already rejected the concept, before ABC finally gave the green light, and even then, with significant reservations. Wayans' original plan was much more provocative, addressing issues like racial discrimination more directly. But these ideas were gradually diluted during the development process. We had to be strategic, explains Wayans in a rare interview about the behind-the-scenes of the series. I knew that if I pushed too hard right off the bat, the show would be cancelled before even finding its audience. So we planted small seeds throughout the first season, testing how far we could go. One of these tests occurred right in the pilot episode, when Michael refuses to give Junior money to buy expensive brand-name clothes, offering him thrift store clothes as an alternative. What seemed like a simple joke about household economics was, in fact, a subtle critique of consumerism and the socio-economic pressure faced by middle-class families, especially black families. The chemistry between the cast was immediate, except for one detail that remained hidden from the public until today. Tisha Campbell-Martin, who played Janet J. Kyle, initially refused the role 3 times. I had just come out of Martin and didn't want to be typecast as the wife in another sitcom, reveals Campbell-Martin. It was only when Damon called me personally and explained his bigger vision for the character that I decided to give it a chance. This initial no would create a creative tension that, ironically, would help build the special dynamic that made the Kyle's marriage seem so authentic on screen. While My Wife and Kids was making its mark, a shadow constantly loomed over the production, Hollywood's long history of stereotyping black characters and the constant pressure not to scare white audiences. Every script went through a bizarre filter, says a former writer for the series. Executives always asked, "Is this going to alienate our main audience?" which was code for, "Is this too black?" This tension became even more evident when the series began to gain popularity. ABC's internal data, never before revealed, showed that the program had exceptional numbers, not only among black audiences, but also among white, Latino, and Asian families, directly contradicting the myth that black content would have limited appeal. "We had proof that representation worked," comments Wayans, "but still, every season was a battle to maintain the integrity of our vision." This external pressure had its most tense moment during the preparation for the second season, when writers proposed a story where Claire would discover her friend was pregnant as a teenager. The plot would trigger a family discussion about sexual responsibility, peer pressure, and the challenges faced by young mothers. "The network was nervous about the story," recalls Don Rio, "but we insisted it was important to address real issues that families face." What the public never knew is that this plot wasn't just controversial in the executive offices. It triggered the first major crisis behind the scenes of the series. Jaz Raycole, the original actress who played Claire, was only 12 at the time, and her mother, who managed her career, considered the theme inappropriate for her daughter's age. "It wasn't just a matter of creative disagreement," reveals a producer who worked on the first 2 seasons. Jaz's mother was genuinely concerned about the psychological effects that interpreting these scenes could have on such a young girl. This conflict resulted in Raycole's departure and the hiring of Jennifer Nicole Freeman for the role of Claire, a change that production tried to downplay, hoping the audience would simply accept the new actress without questioning. The strategy worked for most viewers, but internally, the replacement created fissures in the happy family that the cast tried to project. "It was a defining moment," confesses George Gore X, who played Junior. "We realized that despite the success, no one was irreplaceable. That scared us all. You think it's easy to make people laugh. Try doing that while your set is falling apart around you." Damon Wayans vents during a break in filming the 3rd season, words never before shared with the public. Behind Michael Kyle's seemingly carefree humor was an actor and creator facing monumental pressures. "By the 3rd season, my wife and kids had become a pillar of ABC's programming, but success brought with it growing expectations and internal tensions that threatened to break the carefully constructed facade." Claire's replacement wasn't the only cast change that disturbed the set's dynamics. The character Vanessa, Junior's girlfriend and later wife, also underwent an unexpected transformation. Meagan Good, who originally brought the character to life in the 3rd season, was replaced by Brooklyn Sudano from the 4th season onward. "Everyone said it was scheduling conflicts," reveals a source close to the production, but the truth is more complicated. Meagan had incredible chemistry with George Gore too, maybe too good. There were rumors of an off-camera romance that was causing tension on the set. Good and Gore too never publicly confirmed any relationship, but both admit the transition was difficult. "It was like losing a family member," confesses Gore too years later. "You create deep bonds when you work so intensely with someone." For Brooklyn Sudano, entering an already established cast brought its own challenges. "I could feel the looks," admits Sudano, "not from the main cast, who were incredibly welcoming, but from the crew, fans visiting the set, everyone wondering, can she replace Meagan?" These cast changes reflected deeper tensions behind the scenes. Tisha Campbell Martin, still dealing with the emotional consequences of her troubled divorce from actor Dwayne Martin, which was happening during the filming of the series, often arrived on set visibly shaken. There were days when Tisha would arrive with eyes red from crying, recalls a crew member. Damon Wayans, and she had a code. He would ask, level 1 to 10? If she answered anything above 7, he knew he had to carry more of the episode that day. This solidarity, rarely seen among TV protagonists, demonstrated how, despite the difficulties, the main cast had formed a true family beyond the cameras. Parker McKenna Posey, who played the youngest Katie since age 6, grew up on the set and faced her own challenges. I was going through puberty in front of the cameras, recalls Posey. It was extremely uncomfortable having my body and voice changing while millions of people watched. There were times I begged not to have to film certain scenes. The pressure on the young actors was immense, with rigorous filming schedules combined with private lessons backstage and constant public attention. We didn't have social media like today, explains Jennifer Nicole Freeman, but we still felt the pressure of being role models for other young people. Meanwhile, Damon Wayans was fighting his own personal battles. Few know that during the 4th season, he was diagnosed with a medical condition that required surgery. Damon filmed 3 episodes while in intense pain, reveals Don Rayo. He refused to stop filming because he knew how many people depended on him. This dedication, though admirable, took its toll. Wayans became increasingly perfectionist, often rewriting scenes moments before filming and questioning creative directions from the network. It was like watching someone trying to hold water with their hands, describes a director who worked on multiple episodes. The more ABC tried to control the series, the more Damon fought to maintain his original vision. The year was 2005, and My Wife and Kids was at the height of its popularity, consistently reaching an average of 10 million viewers per episode. Impressive numbers for a sitcom in an era of fragmented television audiences. Behind the scenes, however, a shocking decision was about to be made. It was like a shot in the dark, describes Wayans, recalling the moment he received the call. We were filming what would be episode 26 of the 5th season when the network president called personally. I thought it would be to discuss ideas for the 6th season. Instead, he told me, we're ending the series. The decision caught not only the creator by surprise, but the entire cast and crew. The news came so suddenly that there was no time to plan a proper final episode. The last episode that aired, where Junior and Vanessa announced they were expecting another child, was never conceived as a series finale. We had big plans, laments Don Rayo. The 6th season would finally address some deeper social issues that we had planned from the beginning. Michael would face racial discrimination at work. Janet would be starting her own company. It was our chance to really expand the themes of the series. What never came to light until now is that the decision to cancel My Wife and Kids was not based on low ratings, as many speculated. Internal ABC documents, obtained exclusively for this documentary, reveal that the network was undergoing a significant restructuring, with new executives who wanted to leave their mark on the programming. They wanted to get rid of projects associated with the previous administration, explains the anonymous former executive. It didn't matter how well these series were performing. It was a matter of corporate ego. Even more shocking is the revelation that ABC offered Damon Wayans the opportunity to continue the series, but with substantial changes that would have fundamentally altered his creative vision. Among the proposals were reducing Janet's role to give more space to younger female characters, introducing a white neighbor as a counterpoint, and making the overall tone less culturally specific. It was insulting, states Wayans, visibly emotional as he remembers. They essentially wanted to dilute everything that made the series special, everything we had fought for 5 years. Faced with this impossible choice, compromising his artistic vision or seeing the series end, Wayans chose integrity. I told them I would rather end with dignity than continue as a shadow of what we created. For the young cast, the cancellation was especially traumatic. "We grew up together," explains George Gore II. "Suddenly, our family was being dismantled with no chance to properly say goodbye. The public never knew, but the cast and crew organized their own closing ceremony on set after filming the last episode. We cried, laughed, told stories," recalls Jennifer Nicole Freeman. "Damon gave a speech that still moves me when I think about it. He said, 'They can take our show, but they can't take what we created together. An honest representation of a family that loves each other despite all the craziness.' Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if Michael Kyle had had the chance to age on screen, to see his children become adults, to become a grandfather," reflects Damon Wayans in 2023. "We would have shown a complete journey that we rarely see with black families on television." After the abrupt end of My Wife and Kids in 2005, the cast's paths went in surprisingly diverse directions. Damon Wayans continued his career in comedy, eventually returning to television in the series Lethal Weapon, but close friends report that the premature end of his family sitcom remained an unhealed wound. "He had much more to say through Michael Kyle," confesses a close colleague. "That character was more than a role for him." Tisha Campbell-Martin faced significant personal battles after the end of the series, including financial challenges and her public divorce. However, she managed to reinvent her career several times, participating in other series such as Rita Rocks and Dr. Ken, as well as returning to music. "My Wife and Kids taught me resilience," shares Campbell-Martin. "When you're part of something that ends at its peak, you learn that nothing is permanent, not even success. That prepared me for the ups and downs that would come after." For the younger actors, the end of the series represented a crucial turning point. George Gore II, Jennifer Nicole Freeman, and Parker McKenna Posey faced the common challenge of child actors, redefining their identities beyond the characters that made them famous. "It was difficult," admits Gore II. "I grew up being Junior. Suddenly, at 20, I needed to figure out who I really was beyond that character." Jennifer Nicole Freeman, who replaced Jaz Raycole as Claire, found opportunities in film and television, but also expanded her interests to entrepreneurship and social activism. "Playing Claire gave me a platform, but also labeled me in a way. I spent years working to show that there was more to me as an actress and as a person." Parker McKenna Posey, the youngest of the main cast, perhaps faced the most challenging transition. "Growing up in the spotlight leaves scars," she reveals. "There was a period after the series when I wanted distance from acting. I needed to find out who Parker was without the cameras." Brooklyn Sudano, who joined the cast later as the second Vanessa, went on to a diverse career in television and film, appearing in series such as Cruel Summer. "Entering My Wife and Kids was intimidating, but it also prepared me for any challenge in the industry," she reflects. "If you can replace a beloved character in a successful sitcom, you can face anything." As for Jaz Raycole, the original Claire, who left after the first season due to her mother's concerns about the content of the series, she eventually returned to acting in projects such as The Soul Man and The Quad. "I don't regret the decision," states Raycole. "I was very young, and my mother did what she believed was best for me. It allowed me to have a more normal adolescence and return to acting on my own terms." The cultural impact of My Wife and Kids proved to be much greater than anyone could have predicted. The series helped pave the way for other comedies centered on black families, such as Blackish and The Neighborhood, which were able to address social issues more directly. Thanks to the ground gained by Wayans and his team, what Damon managed to do was extraordinary, observes Kenya Barris, creator of Blackish. He subtly introduced social commentary into a mainstream family comedy at a time when that was almost impossible. Those of us who came after were able to go further because he pushed the boundaries first. Perhaps the most important legacy of the series is the impact it had on its viewers. Countless young people grew up seeing a loving, successful, and complex black family on television, a representation that was surprisingly rare in the early 2000s. To this day, people come up to me to say how the series shaped their vision of family, says Wayans, with evident pride. Parents tell me they use episodes as lessons for their children. That's worth more than any award. The story of My Wife and Kids is, at its core, a story of creative resistance. For 5 years, from 2001 to 2005, Damon Wayans and his cast fought to present the world with an authentic vision of family, facing controversial cast replacements, corporate pressures, and the constant challenge of balancing entertainment with meaningful representation. When Michael Kyle said his iconic "no, no, no," or when he applied his unusual life lessons, he wasn't just generating laughs, he was silently redefining how black families could be portrayed in American popular culture. The premature cancellation of the series in 2005 deprived fans of a proper closure, but perhaps it is appropriate that a series that challenged so many conventions also challenged the expectation of a tidy conclusion. Like family life itself, the Kyle's journey was unpredictable, imperfect, and cut short, but deeply meaningful to everyone involved. As Damon Wayans recently reflected, maybe the real end of the story is what happened afterward. How those characters continue to live in people's memories, inspiring other series, other families. Isn't that what we all want in the end? To leave something that continues beyond us, in a world where authentic representations are still battles to be won. The story behind My Wife and Kids remains not only an important chapter in American television, but a powerful reminder that the most important stories are often those that face the greatest resistance to being told.